Welcome to Retire Hour, the weekly show discussing income planning, investing, tax planning, estate planning, and Medicare. Complete retirement education. Hear from our financial advisors, CPA, estate planning attorney, and Medicare advisor every week. This is Retire Hour.
Well, hope everyone had a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays. I'll say Happy Holidays because I'm a Christian. I say Merry Christmas, but you know, if it's not your gig, whatever. I hope you had fun with your friends, your family, your close friends and family. Slowed down and enjoyed this last bit of the year here. And we've got a whole listener show set up here where you guys have submitted these questions, and we really, really love it when you guys send us questions. We try to get to them when we can, and sometimes we can't. So we're going to get some caught up this week on some listener questions. And if you want to submit a listener question to be used in a future show, you can go out to our website at retirehour.com. And if you include your mailing address and select which little thank you gift you'd like, we'd love to send you a thank you out there in the mail to you, whether it's a coffee mug, a hat, umbrellas. We've got a lot of things to give away. I don't think we have socks yet. Yet. I don't think we have socks yet, but there's lots and swag stuff to give away there. So I've got the first question here, and this is the Retire Hour show, not the Retire Hour show. What?
No, keep on trucking.
Keep on trucking? All right. It's the weekly show that helps you stay up to date on the ever-changing landscape of retirement. And this listener question comes from Neil, and it's, how do I decide to start drawing Social Security? And I've also got here with me Joshua Sikora, CPA, Market Tax Services. You know, that's a question you could almost ask a tax person, but then you'd also probably ask your financial advisor. And Neil has an excellent question, but the problem is if Neil's not working with the tax person and the financial advisor together, who's responsible for relaying that information on maybe when you start Social Security or how you should start Social Security? Who's responsible for relaying that information between the tax person and the financial advisor?
Our good friend Neil.
Neil, the retiree.
Yeah. Because who doesn't retire looking for a part-time job?
That's a good way to say it. You know, most people do want to just retire. They don't want to trade one job for another. But back to Neil's question on Social Security, there's a lot of tax considerations to look at here. But then you know more than the average tax preparer, just because you work with us in conjunction with the Social Security, you know there's other things to look at here.
Yeah, so it's not just turn it on, turn it off. It's what else is going on at the same time. Are we collecting it early? And so we need to worry about, is there working wages still in play that's going to trigger the forfeiture rule? Is there other income streams that's going on that's going to trigger excessive taxation? Is Neil looking at doing some tax planning work, something dear to my heart, you know? And so maybe he should keep it turned off so he can do the tax planning and turn it on at a later point. Maybe he wants to turn it on to use that new income stream to do some tax planning work. There's lots of different factors that can play in here. Generally, when I'm talking to people, I'll say, well, if you don't turn it on, what are you going to do for income stream? And sometimes they'll say, well, I don't really need it. I just want to start collecting it. And so that leads us down one path. Sometimes they'll say, well, if I don't turn on Social Security, I'm going to have to pull out of my nest egg, which leads us down a different path, right?
But how does anyone make those decisions if they're not getting tax planning? Because so many retirees out there, because I believe the American retirement system is broken, because you have these situations where you'll have to have a tax person, you'll need the financial advisor getting these Social Security questions. But if you're not looking at the tax perspective, I don't even know how anyone can give solid advice.
I really have an answer for that either.
but it falls back onto the retiree's shoulder, to Neil, like you said, and he doesn't want a new job. He wants to retire. And this placing the responsibility on the retiree, relaying all the information between the Medicare professional, between the estate planning attorneys, between the financial advisor, between the tax advisor, if they're getting any tax advice, let alone if they're having their taxes prepared by someone, because that's a whole different animal in retirement, because Social Security, it's not taxed as ordinary income. it's not taxed like ordinary income.
It's not,
maybe.
yeah.
Maybe it's a better way
It
to say
is
that.
ordinary income.
It is
However,
ordinary
it's not
income.
dollar for dollar taxable. There's a page-long calculation that goes into it. But long story short, the more other sources of income you have, the more of your Social Security is taxable until it stops at 85% of your benefit being taxable. We don't do this stuff. We don't treat people this way for medical issues and healthcare, right? If you need to see doctors, plural, you're not the one shuttling information back and forth. The doctors share information outside of the conversation with you. Why do we do this with your finances, which are just as critical as that healthcare component?
And really, we're not shuttling your medical records back and forth. We're actually working around the same table. It's even better than the healthcare analogy. I like that analogy, but where I think number one, no one likes healthcare. It's so miserable to be in healthcare these days for working for the people in it. I feel bad for everyone, but going that extra step, what if you had like a concierge level where everyone worked together, all your medical professionals, you didn't have to move beds, move facilities, do whatever. They all came. I mean, that's called a hospital.
Yeah.
But in this way, it's a wellness unit. It's not, you're not there because you have to be. It's there because you want to be better and it makes you better.
In fact, I like it best when people come to that wellness, come to us for that purpose, that wellness. Not that there's a problem that they need unwound, because that is far tougher. If you're coming to see us before there's a problem, because you're aware that there is a problem coming down the road, that's when we can provide the most value, because we have time on our side to get people to a better place.
So just to help Neil answer the question here, come in and sit down and have a conversation with us. But just one last question I want to ask Joshua Sikora. He's a CPA. How would you recommend people get Social Security advice when their financial advice, if they're not getting tax planning with it? How would you recommend they do that?
Find somebody who offers all that at the same time, because unless you're getting all these different pieces, you're going to have a piece drop. Okay, so maybe your financial advisor advises you on exactly the right time to take Social Security. Are they telling you about turning on withholdings? Because that's really not transparent when you sign up for it. And we've talked before that the financial advisor can't tell people what level of withholdings to do.
Well, let me tell you this. If your financial advisor is following the rules and regulations the way they should, and they're giving you tax advice and they're not licensed to, that means they're not probably following the rules and regulations the way they should. And if you're worried that you don't have a financial advisor that can help you navigate these issues because they can't give you tax advice with your financial advice, with your Social Security questions, reach out and schedule a 15-minute chat with us at 833-MAG-REPORT, or that toll-free number again is 833, the letters MAG for Market Advisory Group Report, or you can pop over to that website at retirehour.com. And don't forget to submit your question while you're there. We'd love to send you all these coffee mugs, umbrellas, hats, all the swag we've got here. We can't wear all this stuff. We try. But stay tuned. We'll be right back with Joshua Sikora with more right after this.
Are you worried about your retirement? Do you have an entire team looking out for your investments, taxes, estate plans, and healthcare? At Market Advisory Group, we have professionals in all 4 areas available to give you the help you need for your future. Find out why our team approach can give you confidence in your plan moving forward with a free consultation. Call 833-MAG-PLAN. That's 833-MAG-PLAN. Or visit marketadvisorygroup.com. Market Advisory Group. Invested in you.
Do you find yourself at a loss for the complexities of retirement? Do topics like phantom income, required minimum distribution, and Medicaid spend down utterly confuse you? Market Advisory Group has free webinars for you to watch, including finances and investing, taxes, estate planning, Medicare, and more. Go to marketadvisorygroup.com to kickstart your retirement education. Market Advisory Group. Invested in you.
Financial advisory services offered through Foundations Investment Advisors LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Not connected with or endorsed by the U.S. government or the federal Medicare program.
Welcome back into Retire Hour, the weekly show that helps you stay up to date on the ever-changing landscape of retirement. You know, I've got to brag just a little bit. Can I brag just a little?
Knock yourself out.
Okay. I actually got a ticket to go to the inauguration.
I was afraid you were saying you got a ticket.
I can deduct a ticket, right?
No, fines and penalties are not
You're no
deductible.
fun this week. You're no fun this week. Yeah, so I'm taking Eli, my fiance's son, and Bill and Brian Fry, and so we're all going out to the inauguration in DC, and I'm taking Jonathan's dad too. Jonathan can't go, but we're taking Jonathan's dad.
Well, all right.
So it should be a heck of a good trip.
Make a memory.
It should be interesting. So we're back with this week's episode of, the listener question episode. And we've got this question for one of our tax advisors, Joshua Sikora, CPA. Is there a way to transfer regular IRAs to Roth IRA without paying a high tax on the transfer? Vicky B. Great question, Vicky. And actually, what this tells me is Vicky's not getting tax planning from her financial advisor. Is that your answer?
My answer, the way to transfer it is to have a tax plan.
Well, no, but that's a different answer. but you can tell Vicky's not getting tax planning, and that's I'll go out on a limb here and even say I've had tax problems in the past. But you know why I've had tax problems? I wasn't getting tax planning.
Yep.
And now that I have tax planning, there's a lot less surprises that happen. And Vicky, if you were getting tax planning, you would actually figure out if you should do Roth conversions every year, and if you should do them, how much you should do, or certainly what's even better yet, and what is always the flying blind, the financial advisor should be not calculating this. You get an amount of, if you want to do 10,000, it costs you this. Mm-hmm. If you want to do 20,000, it costs you this. You get to figure out what something costs you. Wow.
Yeah. So high tax is a relative term, right? It depends on,
it's relative to anything.
That's right. And so right now we are at historically low tax rates. So you could say that every tax rate on the books right now is a low rate compared to what's happened before and what we expect to be, where we expect to be in the future. So then the question is, and I know that's not really what she means. She means high tax compared to the tax I pay in all my other years, right? And so that's where that tax plan comes into place. Let's identify where you're at now and what can be done there. Well, what does that next bracket look like? But then we're coming up with some new tools where we can say, okay, if we keep targeting this bracket where you're at or the next bracket up over the next 10 years, what does that do to your long-term portfolio?
Because when you move them over, any of that move that you make after that 5-year window's up, it's income tax free.
That's right.
And do you think your portfolio, do you think the market's going to be higher or lower in the future?
I'm sure hoping higher.
I think over time, certainly it will be higher. It's kind of ties to inflation that way. That's how you stay inflation protected. Now there needs to be other factors brought in there. Mm-hmm. But back to Vicky's question, is there a way to transfer regular IRAs to Roth IRAs without paying high tax on the transfer? It all gets back to Vicky needs tax planning to figure out what she should do. If Vicky has $10,000 in an IRA and she's in a 22% tax bracket, does she need to convert that to a Roth? It's not as ideal versus the person that has dollars left in their 12% tax bracket, and they maybe have millions in their IRAs. They need to probably fill up that 12% tax bracket, maybe even look at some of the 22.
Right, because if you don't like paying 22% taxes, when the tax brackets are supposed to change in 26, that 22 becomes 25, you're really not going to like it.
And I just talked about my class this week. Yes, I'm excited that the Republicans have control of Congress. Barely. Mm-hmm. I'm glad the White House. Yes, I'm glad it's going to be tax favorable, less regulation. It's a math problem though. And there's going to be some big issues. And if, say, worst case scenario, say they don't get anything passed, January 1st of 2026, the 22% is set automatically to go to 25%.
That's right. And that standard deduction gets cut in half.
It shrinks right down. And so if you're not paying attention, now I hope they pass tax reform, but if they pass tax reform, it's going to keep inflation rearing.
Yep.
So you need to make sure you're in investments that can pair with that. But then also it might change. What if we have lower tax rates over the next 4 years? Don't you want to make sure you're maximizing these Roth conversions further?
Yeah. There's no one simple trick to fix this.
But it gets back to a planning aspect of you go to the system's broken because you go to your financial advisor this time of year, towards the end of the year, and you're like, hey, should I do a Roth conversion? And your financial advisor probably will say something like, yeah, you really should do a Roth conversion, or you should look into it. And then the conversation is going to stop right there, unless the financial advisor has a tax advisor in-house, or unless the financial advisor is licensed to give tax advice. But there's very few financial advisors that are licensed to do both.
Right.
And I think it's a disaster if they're doing that, because you have too much to worry about in your department. I have too much to worry about in my department. If you're trying to keep both of those straight, it's a mess.
You're not sleeping at night.
So back to Vicky's question, really the simplest answer is she needs to go through tax planning, and she needs to be working with a tax advisor, and the tax advisor is different from a tax preparer.
Right. Tax preparer is the person you're talking to in the spring, February, March, April, to get your tax return done.
Because you can't do much about your tax return.
There's really nothing to be done at that point.
It's just really reporting all the figures, tallying it up, stamping on it, and having the client sign it and send it to the IRS.
That's right. Tax advising is what we do the rest of the year here, where we proactively look to see what needs to be done to achieve long-term tax savings.
So to answer your question, Vicky, is there a way to transfer regular IRAs to Roth IRAs without paying a high tax on the transfer? The short answer is very possibly. But unless you're going through tax planning, how do you know what you do not know? And hear my heart, guys. I'm not trying to suggest that everyone in the world could save millions if they go through tax planning. What I want people to gain and benefit through going through tax planning is clarity. How do you make a good decision if you don't know where you're at when things cost you what they could cost you? How do you know if you take another withdrawal this year, if it would be more beneficial than taking the withdrawal next year? You have to look at these things, and there's so many examples. And if you're not getting tax advice with your financial advice, and that worries or upsets you, or maybe even makes you concerned, are you not asking questions that you should be asking? Reach out to schedule a 15-minute chat with us. We can do it by phone, wherever you're at, in your car, your phone, work, vacation, if you'd like. I've taken some calls while I'm on vacation, but if you want to reach out and schedule that 15-minute chat, you can do so by calling the toll-free number at 833-MAG-REPORT. That's 833, the letters MAG, stands for Market Advisory Group Report. Or you can go over to the website at retirehour.com or marketadvisorygroup.com. Well, stay tuned. We'll be right back with Larry Clefcorn of Wichita, Kansas, and he's going to get asked the question, is it good to have actual gold and silver versus gold IRAs? Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more.
Out on the water, there is a moment. Perfect synchronization. The team working together in harmony to reach their goal. Now, imagine finding a team of financial professionals to help run your course down the river of retirement. Market Advisory Group is that team. Financial advisors, tax professionals, estate planning attorneys, and Medicare advisors. All in the same boat. All pulling in the same direction. Toward the same purpose. Your retirement's financial security. We are Market Advisory Group. Proud sponsor of Shocker Rowing.
All these questions, I really appreciate you guys that listen and watch the show, whether you come in person, whether we see you out at the trade shows that we do and give away the coffee mugs and the swag and the hats and get some of the questions actually that we use on this show this way. It's so great to meet you guys in person. And what's interesting, I had Joshua run the numbers. You'd be surprised at probably the amount of Roth conversions we did this year. It was in the millions of numbers. Yeah. Millions. We helped our clients take taxable retirement account dollars, move them to tax-free. That is something to get excited about. Yes. But we get this.
Well, sometimes people say, well, what's your angle?
Right.
Well, what do you guys, obviously you're getting something out of it. Well, we're taking care of our clients as fiduciaries, but we're actually taking money out and we're no longer being compensated for managing
Excellent
that
point.
money.
Now I know where you're going. I'm like, where are you doing this? Oh, when we do those Roth conversions, if the client withholds the taxes, say they do a $100,000 Roth conversion, and after the taxes it's only $68,000. Right. Well, we were managing $100,000.
Yeah.
And now we're only managing and billing on $68,000. It is in essence, it hurts our bottom line to actually do the Roth conversions, but it's more beneficial for our clients because now those dollars are going to be tax-free dollars.
Yep.
And that is probably one of the more powerful things you can have in retirement.
Right.
But back to Lynn's question, a lot of people think the best thing to have in retirement is either gold or silver. And, I'll say I own a little bit of both, but really, that's not where the bulk of my assets are, and that's a question that we get so often. I think it's because people are afraid of things,
right? And
I get that. But Lynn's question again: is it good to have actual gold and silver versus a gold IRA? Lynn F. Do we need to go get a tax advisor?
Well, it could be helpful, but let me make this comment, and that is that. If you like gold and if you want some physical gold, because that's usually what people are asking, and I think that's what's behind this question, they're talking about physical gold. So now we're not necessarily talking about it as an investment. We are, but what I want to address is the other parts of it. Where do you buy it? Where do you sell it? What price do you pay? Oftentimes people assume that it's the published price for the day, the spot price.
It's not necessarily the case.
No, because think of it this way. It's kind of like if you go car shopping. If you are trading a car in, are they going to give you full value for it? No.
Normally they want to mark it up themselves and sell it back somewhere.
They need some margin.
Yeah.
And if they go to sell you a car, are you going to get it cheaper? No, you're going to have to pay up for it. And it's the same way if you have physical gold. You have to actually pay fees.
In a sense, yeah, there's kind of a hidden fee in there, right?
In fact, the term that is officially used in this case, I was reading bankrate.com as one source just this morning, it's called premium.
How about that?
Yeah.
And it's a markup. It's the premium that you'd pay into having that exchange, to have the person in between there. Now, I don't know if some people are thinking they're going to buy bread with it. So then, what do you do? Just take a couple of shavings off the bar. And
And again, you could get it's possible you'd have no buyers. But if you did, you're giving something up for it. Now, here's something else. Where are you going to store it?
Oh, yeah. No kidding. And I think that's kind of the gold IRA question then is, and then you have storage fees if you do that. So if you have it in the IRA, there's pros and cons to both sides of that. But I'll even go back as far as, what was that economic conference you and I and Danny and Jonathan were at in California where that economist spoke? And he said, if you look at inflation over time, and he did gold and then he did different assets, he looked at equities, stock market, and stocks outperformed in inflation
every time,
hands down, because stocks are going to be dividend producing, income generating, where a bar of gold is just going to be sitting there. Yeah. So just keep that in mind. I think a lot of people are scared about inflation, and rightfully so. But there's better places to go than physical metals, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Now, here's the other thing is sometimes people say, well, I do it in coins.
Then you're doing collector values.
Exactly.
You're not buying it for the precious metals.
Right. So there could be additional fees or taxes.
Oh, that's another premium. And then, again, like you said, the taxes, I want to recall, but this is why I don't do this. But I want to recall like it's not income taxes; it's a special like collector's tax or something like that. And I do know that. I don't want to quote the amount because I don't give tax advice because I'm not a CPA. Right. But if you don't have people that can navigate these questions when they come up, or maybe you hear an ad on the radio, or maybe you see something on TV or hear something from a friend, you have to have a trusted source that you can go and ask, what are the tax consequences to doing this? What are the investment risks? What are the changes in my estate plan I should make if I do this investment? What are the impacts to my situation? Reach out and give us a call at 833-MAG-REPORT. That toll-free number again is 833, the letters MAG, stands for Market Advisory Group Report. Or you can go to our website at retirehour.com or marketadvisorygroup.com. Well, stay tuned. We'll be right back with one of our Medicare advisors right after this.
Every client we work with deserves a custom-made plan to fit them.
We can take any situation that's thrown in front of us, look at what fears they may be, trying to work through it, and come up with very creative solutions.
We are unique to people that are seeking to try to have the complex things more simple.
We work together as a team. As an advisor, it'll come up with tax questions. It's great to have a CPA here in the office that can answer those questions and give them accuracy.
Market Advisory Group, proud to be local.
I need a place to go to see about my investments. Ask my friends if they know about holistic retirement. Everything in one place. Estates, taxes, and Medicare. People meeting face to face. Advisors to help me get there.
At Market Advisory Group. Retirement under one roof. At Market Advisory Group. We're invested in you.
Welcome back into Retire Hour, the weekly show that helps you stay up to date on the ever-changing landscape of retirement. And it's going to be changing, guys. The new government's going to be installed here soon. There's going to be a Republican in the White House, Republicans in control of Congress, narrowly, and they're going to pass changes. And it's going to have impacts on your taxes. And if you're not getting tax advice, how do you know if you're maximizing this for your situation? Or how do you know if God forbid they don't get the tax advice or the tax changes done, you don't have tax advice and the tax code goes back to what it was before the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act? Taxes will be changing in some way, guys. Make sure you're navigating it for your situation and make sure that you're getting the most that you could out of your situation. And you really get that by having clarity. And speaking of clarity, you get all kinds of questions when it comes time for your health insurance. I often find, I think companies' HR, their departments, they get questions like this, and they don't really know who to even turn to, but they don't have people they can get answers to these questions. And Debbie has a great question, and if Debbie had her address, we're going to be mailing her out some swag, maybe a hat or an umbrella or a cup or a coffee mug. So hopefully you submitted your address with this question, Debbie. But her question says, should I stay with my employer's medical plan or, so she's still working, obviously, and has health insurance through her employer, or switch to an Advantage plan? Ooh, I feel like that's a loaded question because a lot of people either feel one way or another about Advantage plans, but that's a whole nother conversation. So what do you think she's asking there?
Putting aside the Advantage plan portion of it, I think what she's really wanting to know is it time to switch to Medicare? Sitting down with an advisor to weigh those options. What do you get from workplace insurance? What do you get from Medicare? And how does it benefit you as the individual on that health insurance? But there's a lot more to it than that I would require in order to best advise Debbie on that.
I mean, do you think maybe she's asking about the Advantage plan because that normally doesn't have that covers like your extra, and you don't typically have the extra out-of-pocket monthly on the Advantage plan that you do with a supplement? So maybe she's thinking that she could save some on her health insurance, but she's still going to have the Part B premium.
Most likely looking to save a little bit, go into Advantage plan, but you're right. The Part B premium is something that everybody has to pay for, has to contribute to. But that might not be the same for everybody. There's a base premium, but it stair steps up from there, depending on your tax return 2 years ago.
So really, Debbie should look at her portion of the health insurance is costing her per paycheck or per month, and then come in and figure out with you guys what's that getting her in coverage. Because sometimes you've seen some work plans out there that, now that's not ours. Ours is a good plan, but you've seen some plans out there that are not great plans, and sometimes it is beneficial to be on Medicare versus being on an employer plan.
From all of the employer plans that I've seen, they are very comparable premium wise, but a lot of people buy into the high deductible. Now, not only are we worrying about an individual, perhaps they have workplace insurance for their family. That means their deductible doubles in a lot of cases. So people have a higher amount that they're spending on their workplace insurance plan first before they move into that percentage split with the insurance company.
So I'm noticing a trend with these all question episodes. I'm thinking, we really don't answer any of these questions because really, and that's not funny. That's not funny. But the fact is because there's so much more to the question. There's so much more context needed. There's ages. There's so many other demographics needed here, and that's true. And the challenge, I think, is there's so many government regulations, whether it's taxes, estate planning, investments, economic trends, and then you have these healthcare things. And when you have these options that are available, whether to stay on your work plan or go on to Medicare, you might meet with a Medicare person that might be really trying to push you just to get on Medicare, just so that person can selfishly make a commission. And that's not ethical, is it?
No. When somebody sits down with a prospect, somebody who's looking to switch on to Medicare, it's really important that they are getting the information that they need to make the decision themselves. Way too many times have people come in and they say, I signed myself up for Medicare 3-4 years ago and I want to review my plan. Well, now they're stuck with an Advantage plan because they didn't get to sit down and review all of their options at that time when they first enrolled for Medicare.
And this is not something you typically can just set it and forget it. You need to make sure you're looking at it every year. And there is a new Medicare Advantage period of area where you can change your Medicare Advantage plan starting the January 1st, 2025, right?
And that's going to be specific for Advantage plans to Advantage plans. The general enrollment period, January 1st to, I think it's March 31st.
I have no clue how you guys keep any of this all straight.
These are the constant changes that we have to stay up on.
Can you imagine me trying to be a financial advisor and trying to keep up on all the changes with Medicare and trying to make sure I'm doing right by my clients on both? It's very hard to be in both lanes, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, juggling both sectors is a lot to ask for. And I think that's where I'm relieved to have you, Joshua, Gerald.
You think that's where you're relieved?
I think
you think that's where you're relieved to have us? Well, you said it with such conviction there. I'm not. Something's going on with Trey. Well, to figure that out off the air. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. So thank you for running the trivia at our Christmas party last week. That was really great.
Absolutely, it was a blast.
You're a true ham. You know that. You do. You got a great show there, Health and Retirement, where we've taken that show on the road, haven't we?
We're doing our best. Yeah, that one was a couple of segments from Las Vegas.
Yeah, that's right.
Medicare Con. Yeah, looking to do a little bit more with that next couple of months and just getting this information out there.
And it's changing.
It's always changing.
With the new government, it'll probably be changing even more because the really big changes that I think had a lot of negative impacts on Medicare was the Inflation Reduction Act, right? That had all these changes on Medicare that changed the prescription drug plans down to $2,000. It was a big shift in the Medicare landscape. Mm-hmm. And if you didn't have people to help navigate with those changes, I can't imagine. This is its own can of worms. As a financial advisor, I would be lost if I didn't have you guys. And if you don't have a team that you can get answers from when things like this in your situation is bound to happen throughout retirement, healthcare questions, financial advice, tax planning, estate planning group, all under one roof. if you wonder if you could benefit from a group like that, schedule a 15-minute call with us, just to chat. Anywhere from you're at, whether it's the comfort of your home, your car, your break at work, on vacation, wherever you want to have this 15-minute chat, just to see if you could benefit, or maybe you have a question that you really just want to get off your chest and just say, I wonder about this, and maybe it's nothing, or maybe it's something you really need to have a look at. Do that by calling the 833 MAG report, or that's the toll-free number again is 833 MAG report, or you can go over to our website at retirehour.com or marketadvisorygroup.com. Well, stay tuned. We'll be right back with Alex, one of our estate planning attorneys with Eidelman Law Firm, right after this.
Are your healthcare prices going to change? Market Medicare Advisors can help you review any changes to your plan. We are determined to help make your Medicare as simple and understandable as possible. And you can schedule an appointment with one of us to review any changes, or if there's a better plan out there for you. Call Market Medicare Advisors at 844-4-MEDI-HELP. That's 844-4-MEDI-HELP. Or visit marketmedicareadvisors.com. Managing assets, documents, or crucial decisions for yourself or a family member is no simple task. Estate planning is your legacy, and nobody knows this better than Eidelman Law Firm. In estate planning, meeting with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor helps you prepare for your life and legacy. When you put together an estate plan, you will be prepared for the present and future. This should not be delayed. Call 1-800-4-ESTATE or visit us online at eidelmanlawfirm.com. Eidelman Law Firm. Live for today, plan for tomorrow.
Welcome back into Retire Hour, the weekly show that helps you stay up to date on the ever-changing landscape of retirement. And it's no secret, we're going to be having a new government here in a little bit. I'm going to the inauguration. I got my ticket.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's a historic moment. Trump only gets inaugurated every 8 years. So that's you got to go see that. But no, the thing is the government's going to be changing, and that changes a lot of rules and regulations, not just with the healthcare, but then the tax planning, oftentimes even estate planning. We're probably going to be seeing some estate tax exemption limits change, and that'll change how we do some people's that are higher net worth, their estate plan to protect their assets from taxes. But this week's a listener question, and we've got these estate planning attorneys that we work with all the time that are so valuable to our clients and helping them get clarity in their picture with retirement. But Bruce's question this week is, I keep hearing about people getting scammed. How do I make sure I don't lose my whole estate to scammers?
Yeah.
Spend it all?
Yeah, I mean, that's one way to do it.
That is one way to do it.
And you're right. Every time we see rule changes, scammers take advantage of that.
They do.
Because they know they can move into that space where there's uncertainty and say, well, hey, actually, it goes like this. And people are going to just blindly follow that.
They do.
And then
We've seen a lot of that with this BOI stuff.
Yep.
We've seen a lot of BOI scams. Yeah. Robert and I are going to talk about that next segment. But do you put everything in a trust? Is that how you protect it from being stolen from scammers? I mean, so this question could go a lot of different ways.
Yeah, and actually, I'm not going to talk a lot about estate planning in this segment. I think because if you don't have resources because you've given those away to a scammer, then it doesn't matter what you have in terms of a trust or a will or how it's set up, because you need those assets to be in those and not have been given away. So I wanted to hit you guys with some facts here. Last year, IC3.gov, which is the Internet Crime Complaint Center, estimated that there was $3.3 billion in losses for people over the age of 60. And that's just what's been reported. They actually think the real number is closer to $30 billion in lost money for people over the age of 60. And that amount of money is staggering. You know, that's so much of people's retirement gone. And if you're not up to date, and if you're not up to speed on what's going on, then it's very easy to be caught up in these scams.
And I've met, unfortunately, several over my 20-year career where people that have either been conned or talked into something that they didn't know what it was, and it's tragic. And I think Bruce's question here is, I keep hearing about people getting scammed. How do I make sure I don't lose my whole estate to scammers? I think probably the most at-risk ones are the people that don't have a lot of people in their life.
Right.
And so I have a lot of clients where we're literally their family. When we had their Christmas party last week, that was probably their only interaction. We had almost 500 people at the Marriott out east last week in Wichita. But this question goes to the heart of, you don't know who to trust anymore. Because as the world's changing and doing these things, if you're working with a team, I guess you're at least going to have those professionals that you can rely on. Jenna stopped a scam before.
Yep.
I mean, you know about that.
Yeah, we had a client who got a letter in the mail that said, "Oh, you need to file your BOI reporting information. Fill out this form, send it to us, and send us a check or cash for $115." Well, it's free to do, and if you're sending it to this person who you don't know, you've just given them all your personal information
and cash
and cash. But it's really more the information you've given them that they can then use later on to steal your identity or the identity of your LLC or those types of things.
Well, in this instance, though, to Bruce's question of how do I make sure I don't lose my whole estate to scammers, they had a resource that they could come in and ask. Jenna loves to help. I think that's probably a common theme of the almost 100 people that make up this team. We all like to help people and we like to be helpful to each other, and that's just our purpose. We're very driven that way. But if you don't have a team that you can go and rely on, if you don't have that trusted advisory team, you put yourself at risk there. Just like in this situation, this person just would have sent the money in, and like you said, they would have had all their business information. They'd have lost $115, and the government's kind of put this all on hold too. I mean, it just kind of keeps going back and forth.
Right.
It's just a really big mess, and you hit the nail on the head there earlier. Normally, how scammers take advantage of things is it's the things that change.
Right.
And when those laws change, when the tax laws change, when the estate planning regs change, when the BOI comes out, whatever the new government regulation is, or maybe we get government deregulation and then you get to save some things and you need to figure out how to maximize that for your situation. You can't do it without a team, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know what you don't know. And if you don't reach out to other people who are more knowledgeable than you, that's prime territory for others to take advantage of your situation.
My fiance calls it, she doesn't cut her own hair.
Right.
I don't know that you can go with that.
I cut my own hair.
I looked at you and think, oh crap, that was a bad one to use that analogy on. This is a radio show, so we're okay. And hey, look, I need a haircut. Speaking of hairs and cut, but if you're not working with a team, Bruce, this is one way you can help avoid scammers. When you have people that are aware of the regulations that are changing, when they're aware of how things can impact you negatively and positively, if you don't have someone that can help you with that and you're wondering, man, could I benefit from that team? Reach out toll free 1-833-MAG-REPORT. Or again, that toll free number is 833 MAG, stands for Market Advisory Group Report. Or you can go over to our website at retirehour.com or marketadvisorygroup.com. Well, stay tuned. We'll be back with Robert Carr, one of our CPAs, talking more about what this BOI is and what if you have an LLC, all these silly regulations and what you need to pay attention to so you don't fall victim to some of these scams like Jenna helped prevent. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more.
Market Tax Services knows retirement is the promise you have spent your working career to fulfill. But are those savings in danger from unexpected taxes? That's where the team at Market Tax Services comes into play. We meet and help people just like you every day. The best part? Our team of in-house CPAs and tax professionals not only assist with tax savings, but tax planning as well. Call Market Tax Services at 833-2-TAX-PLAN or visit markettaxservices.com.
How much money in taxes will you owe when you retire? If you don't know, that's okay. Let us help you. Market Tax Services has created retirementtax.com just for you. This brand new website is user-friendly and features accessible information and a helpful tool, the Retirement Tax Calculator. Click on the button and find out how much you're set to owe in less time than it took me to read this script. Again, that's retirementtax.com. Your home for taxes in retirement.
Welcome back into Retire Hour. Again, this week's show of listener questions, and we're going to roll into that, continuing this discussion about what is BOI and all this junk that's been going around. Government's so great. But I do want to introduce Robert Carr. You know, you're my fiance's tax advisor.
Yeah.
And I have Joshua as my tax advisor. I don't know, when we get married, we're going to have to decide maybe which one we keep or which one we lose. I don't know. That's going to be a tough decision.
Probably going to be me, because she's probably going to be the one to, take over the household, right? Whatever she says
so
goes.
Then she'll probably stay with you. Then that's probably gonna be true. That's true. Happy wife, happy life.
That's right.
The phrase I think I've been told is the best advice out there. But back to this week's listener question. You have oh wow, I believe this is Japanese. Torishio, konnichiwa. He has a question that is: my friend told me about LLCs needing to file new IRS. A new form with the IRS. What is BOI? And that was something that Jenna stopped with a client, and a fraud scam because of these regulations and all this confusion, just like Alex was saying.
Yeah.
This is why it's helpful to have that team, so you can take stuff in that looks official in the mail, but it's not.
It's not, yeah.
So what is BOI? Let's start with that.
So BOI, it stands for Beneficial Ownership Information, and actually it's not done with the IRS. The form is actually filed with FinCEN, which is the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network.
Oh, great. One more government bureau.
One more, yeah, exactly. And the point behind the BOI report is to help federal law enforcement agencies to kind of cut through the red tape when they're going through their investigations for money laundering, tax evasion, terrorist funding,
they're wanting
other
to know
financial
who
crimes.
owns the LLCs.
Exactly. They're trying to figure out, when they're going through, they hit a roadblock with this illegal entity. Who's behind that legal entity?
And they want to know the ownership. So again, like you said, it prevents money laundering. Typical government wanting more information, more control. But there's been some back and forth. There's been some delays in this where you don't have to do it. But I know that you guys have already done it for us, because you guys make sure we're always compliant, and I appreciate that. That's you guys' job over in that department.
Yep.
And I appreciate all that you guys do, and I have no clue how the small business owner stands a chance without tax advice. And again, thank you for giving that to my fiance. But this BOI thing's on hold, so you shouldn't have to worry about it.
Yes and no. So yes, right
now. That's not my official answer, Matt. That's what I got.
So right now there is a temporary injunction that is currently in the Court of Appeals. And actually, as of last night, there is new language put into the continuing resolution that just came out of Congress that will extend the filing for certain entities that were created prior to January 1, 2024.
Okay.
So any entities created after January 1, 2024 still have a filing requirement for BOI. And that goes with the injunction as well. That injunction was only for entities prior to January 1, 2024. So any new LLCs, any new corporations, those have a potential filing requirement unless they qualify for one of the exemptions.
That's just crazy, because you just, as a business owner, your plate is so full running your business.
Yeah.
You don't have any time to deal with all this government regulation. And I hope they cut it. I have no idea how they're going to do it, but supposedly by a stroke of a pen. I don't think it's going to be quite that simple. But hey, I've never built a rocket, and I'm not a doctor, so I'm just going to leave it at that. But
yeah.
It's going to be quite a challenge for them to get tax reform passed. Joshua and I have talked about that before. I've not asked you your opinion on that. What do you think?
Tax reform alone is always a daunting task. It almost always comes down to the last second of the year. The Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, I think, passed last couple of days of December in 2017.
Yes,
so
and it immediately went into effect the next year, and they still didn't
so there
know
was
how to
no
do
way for us to tax plan or do anything like that and advise our clients as to what's the best approach. Tax legislation is one of probably the worst pieces, not the pieces of legislation, but the worst processes that we have in our government.
Well, just for example, I mean, we're just now getting clarification on these inherited RMDs, and that was something that got passed at the end of 2019.
Yeah.
So we're 5 years down the road, and we're finally understanding. This is, again, I've said it before, this is what Nancy Pelosi means when she says, well, we have to pass the bill before we know what's in it.
Yeah.
They pass these sweeping changes, and then Congress makes the law, but the IRS interprets those tax laws.
Yeah.
And it's not always exactly the way they pass them.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you're right. Tax planning makes it a little more difficult, but the nice thing is, if you're having tax planning, you have that clarity. How do you think financial advisors do tax planning when it comes time for when to take Social Security or when to take withdrawals if they don't have tax planning for their clients?
That makes it tough. Advisors, I know us, we always bring in our tax people into those advisory meetings, and we're able to do that. But for those ones that don't have our kind of setup, they're probably only looking at the portfolio picture of that individual.
And there's so much more to it.
Yeah.
And as someone that's been in trouble out there tax-wise and it took years to get out of it, you need to make sure you're getting tax advice with your wealth. If you're not, you could be missing so many opportunities. And if you don't have that team helping you, reach out and schedule a 15-minute chat with us, calling toll-free 1-833-MAG-REPORT, or that's 833, the letters MAG report, or you can go over to our website, retirehour.com or marketadvisorygroup.com. Well, that's all the time we have this week. Hope you had a great Christmas. Wishing you well wishes and a happy new year coming up here. That's all the time we have for Retire Hour. Check out our other show, Eye on Retirement. See you next week.
Unless otherwise indicated, all client names have been changed to protect their identities.
Investment advisory services are offered through Foundations Investment Advisors LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. The content provided is intended for informational and educational purposes only. The views, statements, and opinions expressed herein are those of the individual speakers and not necessarily those of Foundations and its affiliates. The information contained herein does not constitute an offer to sell any securities or represent an express or implied opinion or endorsement of any specific investment opportunity, offering, or issuer. Any discussion of performance or returns are not indicative of future results. Each individual investor situation is different, and any ideas provided may not be appropriate for your particular circumstances. Foundations only transacts business in the states where it is registered or excluded or exempt from registration requirements. Registration as an investment advisor is not an endorsement of the firm by security regulators and does not mean the advisor has achieved a specific level of skill or ability. No legal or tax advice is provided. Always consult with a tax professional. Legal services are offered by Eidelman Law Firm. Tax services offered by Market Tax Services. Market Advisory Group does not provide legal or tax advice. Any comments regarding safe and secure investments and guaranteed income streams refer only to fixed insurance products. They do not in any way refer to investment advisory products. Rates and guarantees provided by insurance products and annuities are subject to the financial strength of the issuing insurance company, not guaranteed by any bank or the FDIC. The guest commentators featured in this show are not investment advisor representatives of Foundations and do not provide advisory services. Market Advisory Group does have several investment advisor representatives that can provide such services. This is not endorsed or affiliated with any U.S. government agency, the Social Security Administration, or associated with any federal Medicare program. We do not offer every plan available in your area. Any information we provide is limited to those plans we do offer in your area. Please contact Medicare.gov or 1-800-MEDICARE to get information on all of your options. A Roth conversion may not be suitable for your situation. The primary goal in converting retirement assets into a Roth IRA is to reduce the future tax liability on the distributions you take in retirement or on the distributions of your beneficiaries. The information provided is to help you determine whether or not a Roth IRA conversion may be appropriate for your particular circumstances. Please review your retirement savings, tax, and legacy planning strategies with your legal/tax advisor to be sure a Roth IRA conversion fits into your planning strategies. All rights reserved.